Hi everyone, it's Cindy Squirrel here from Squirrel Mills Farms up in Cochrane. It's January 1st, 2021. We are so done with 2020 around here. Today I'm going to make my Aunt Sadie's scones. Now, shh, it's a secret family recipe. Don't tell anybody. Now, Aunt Sadie's mother was a cook for Timothy Eaton in Toronto way back, very early 1900s. So I don't know if this is one of her mother's recipes that have been passed down or not, but it's a good one, my favorite. Now the first thing is we need 1 cup of buttermilk, but I don't have any buttermilk today, so we're going to make our own buttermilk out of lemon juice and milk. So what you do is you need 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, and you put that in a measuring cup. And you put it in first because then when you pour the milk, it's going to get incorporated and it's going to work. If you put your milk in first and then you just drop the lemon juice in, it's not going to mix. Okay, so now we're going to fill this up to the 1 cup mark. Okay, and that's it. And you're going to set that aside because it's going to curdle. And so that's the first thing you need to do, is to get that out of the way. Okay, so now you're going to put all your dry ingredients into, I'm going to use my stand mixer, which for me makes it just perfect. Some people use a food processor, some people use, the old pastry blenders or whatever. Now, this recipe, you're going to put in 4 cups of flour. It's a fairly big recipe. But back in the day, they had big families, hence the big recipes. Now you add, it says half a cup of white sugar. I never put in the amount of sugar that it calls for on any recipe, my cookie recipes, anything, because you don't need a whole half a cup of sugar in there. So that's maybe 1/3 of a cup. Okay, so there we go. It won't be quite as sweet. We don't need all that sugar. Then we're going to add, get your 1 teaspoon measuring and baking powder. And we're going to do six of these. It's a lot of baking powder, but then you put in a lot of flour too. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, now we need baking soda also. Okay, so we got my baking soda. We're just going to put 1 teaspoon of soda. So 1 teaspoon of soda is all you need. And of course, I never measure my salt. It says a teaspoon. I never put a teaspoon of salt in anything. I think my bread recipe calls for 10 grams. Oh gosh, talk about eating salt. So that's all your dry ingredients. So I'm going to take them over to the stand mixer, and I'm just going to put on this beater. I'm going to use this beater, and I'm going to mix the dry ingredients, and I'll see you over at the mixer. So I've set the oven to 400 degrees because it needs time to preheat, and usually by the time you're done mixing all this, the oven is ready for you. Now, your stand mixer, just put it on low where you're going to wear a face full of flour. All you're doing is just making sure that the baking soda and the baking powder is all mixed in with the flour. Now this recipe calls for, I think, butter or lard. I'm a lard person. I'm not a shortening person. Lard has a flavor to it. Shortening has no flavor. And it calls for half a cup of lard or butter. Now, I didn't know if you guys knew this. My husband didn't know this, that there is a measuring tape on your box of lard and on your butter package. So you just put the line at the end and you go half a cup. And you just, so there's your half a cup of butter or lard, whichever one you're using. And have it cold, okay? Because you do not want this melted in, because a scone is like a tea biscuit. You want the globs of lard or butter in there, and then when it bakes, it poofs up and you got a beautiful layers. So cold, and try not to touch it. I know I'm touching it a little bit, but don't melt it. And if it's too warm, put it back in the fridge. Okay, so now I'm just gonna throw this into my stand mixer, and I'm just gonna turn it on, and just long enough that there's still a lot of pieces of lard in there, about the size of a pea or about the size of your baby fingernail. Okay, don't make it into mush. If you run the machine too long, all you've made is a stiff dough, and you will get, yuck, stiff scones. So we're at the stand mixer now, and we're watching it closely because you do not want that to all go to mush. You still want there to be lumps in it. Have you ever gone to a farmer's market or any kind of market and you buy a pie or a butter tart, and when you bite into it, the dough is tough? Well, do you know why? It's because they overworked their dough. Now, either by hand, you know, and it melted the lard or the shortening, whatever they're using, and it just goes to mush and it goes tough. Now you can see that there's still little pieces in there, and that's what you want. So now we're going to add 2 eggs. Just lightly beating them. I see people that crack their eggs into their dough or whatever. I always put mine in a bowl because I am the worst one for getting an eggshell. And then I don't have to either miss it and not see that I put an eggshell into it. But it's so much easier if there was an eggshell. You just go out the bowl. Okay, so we're going to take that and we're going to dump it into our blender, into our mixer there. Okay, and I think our buttermilk should be ready by now. Let's take a look. See how it's gone? There's chunks of it now. See? So it's gone sour. And that's what you want. You can buy buttermilk, or if you make butter, you use the buttermilk that's left over. So dump that into your mixer. There we go. Get it all in there. Now we're just going to turn this on low again, guys. We're not going to turn it on high. We're going to keep an eye on it. We're just going to barely mix it. There, that's it. You can still see there's pieces of lard in there, but everything else is mixed in. Now, some people like raisins, so just before you stop mixing, you can dump in half a cup of raisins. I don't have any raisins in the house, and I like a plain one. Okay, so just dump that on your board. Now, another way to not get that lard to melt is to wear gloves. And I always wear gloves if I'm cooking anything for the farmer's market. And today you can see that it isn't all mixed up, so I'm going to have to use my hands, and I do not want all that lard melted. So we're just going to mix it all up here. And when it all sticks together, you're done. Almost there. You can still see the lard pieces in there. I probably could have done it more in the mixer, but you can't really see what the bottom's doing when it's in a mixer. This way I can see what's going on with my dough. Okay. So, now with this dough, you're just going to roll it. I like big pieces of scones. You've probably seen them where they're little tiny ones or big wedges. Some people use a cookie cutter, but to make a scone and a tea biscuit, which are two different things, tea biscuit doesn't have sugar in it, doesn't have eggs in it. This is like a sweet tea biscuit, but it has eggs in it, so it's a different thing. And to make it so that you can tell if it's a scone or a tea biscuit, don't use your round cookie cutter. Okay, so I've divided my dough into two pieces, and I'm just rolling out the dough here longwise. We're just making a long rectangle. About the width of a bench knife is perfect. Flatten it up if you can. Cut off the ends and add it to that other one. Now, if that's the thickness you want, we've got a little bit thinner there, but so we're going to go one cut, one length of the knife, and then you're going to cross cut. There you go, and you can see, because we only went down and up, we didn't slide our knife through, we didn't seal those edges, so they should pop up really nicely. And if you really want to, you can take off the outside, so it is a cut edge too, and then it will fluff up. Any non-cut end won't fluff up. Okay, we'll throw those on a cookie sheet. So now we're doing the other half of the dough. Try not to knead it too much, just get it so that it will all stick together. Lightly flour your board and roll it out the same as the other. Nice long rectangle. There we go. Use your bench knife again. Now, because I didn't cut the ends this time because this is my last piece of dough. So we're going to have some smaller ones and some ones with non-cut edges, and we'll see what the difference is. Should I go that way? Yeah, I'll go that way. That one's for the dog, she can get it. Now we'll just place those on the cookie sheet, which I have over here, which is lined with parchment paper. Okay, so now we're going to put them in the oven, and we're going to put them in the oven at 400 degrees for 12 to 15 minutes. And you're going to put it on the rack above center. So adjust your tray in the your rack in the oven, so one above center, and we'll be back when they're done. There, it took these ones 15 minutes because they are so big, like, you know, they're the size of my hand. But you see the nice split? That's what you want to see. If you don't have that split, that means you overworked your dough, and those are going to be tough. But all of these ones split. And you see the one, remember this one? I didn't cut the end off. And you just see how there's no split on that end there. But on a cut side, you have splits. Beautiful. We'll wait for these to cool. I want to eat them right now, but I'm gonna let them cool about 2 minutes, and I'll see you then. Okay, so I think I can touch them now. It's been a couple minutes, but look at that one. Split on all 3 sides. Now I don't need a sharp knife, but I'm gonna use a sharp knife. Just look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Now I like mine with a little bit of butter on them. Oh, look at that steam. Oh gosh. And today I'm going to use blueberry jam. This is my own jam that I sell at the on-farm store. And I sell at farmers markets. Although I didn't do the farmers markets this year because of COVID. I just thought that was going to be such a hassle. So I'm going to put some beautiful blueberry jam on these, and I'm in for a treat. Oh, doesn't that look good? This is going to be a meal. Hope you enjoy. Well, there you have it. My Aunt Sadie's scone recipe. I took a bite and I found that it was still a little sweet. So even though I cut the sugar down a bit to 1/3 of a cup from 1/2 a cup, I think I'd even go maybe a little bit less. Maybe just 1/4 of a cup of sugar will do. But it's beautiful. Oh, it's a meal in itself. Hope you enjoy. So this is Cindy Squirrel from Squirrel Mills Farms. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you did enjoy this recipe, there's more to come. You can click like or dislike and subscribe. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe to a channel. It just means that when I post a video, you'll get a little icon on the bottom of your computer which says that I've posted a new video, so you never miss out. Till we meet again. It's Cindy Squirrel. Bye-bye. There's Daisy patiently waiting for a little bit of Aunt Sadie's scones. Let's see if she likes them. Oh, I think she wants more. These are mine though.